Hey everybody, my name is Bruno from thestockstreams.com, and today I want to talk about Virgin Galactic stock, ticker symbol SPCE, and how it is down over 20% in a week. So now let's get started. So here we are in Virgin Galactic stock charts here, and we can see in about a week we have been off over 20%. However, if we take a look at the 1 month view here, we can see in just a matter of a few days we were up over 50%. And when we scroll down here, we can see that in the news, we were obviously seeing that momentum burst, likely due to the FAA granting the ability for Virgin Galactic to fly paying customers into space. And the second momentum burst was likely due to Sir Richard Branson announcing that he was going to board his spaceship before Jeff Bezos, which obviously was creating excitement for the Virgin Galactic investor base and generating the momentum that we saw. So this brings me to the main point in the video here, which is discussing whether or not this news justifies the price action of rising up 50% in a matter of a few days or dropping 20% in a matter of a week. When you look at a lot of news sources like we have here in Google, there are a lot of contradictory opinions about Virgin Galactic stock chart here, especially about the $10 billion market cap valuation. A lot of people are saying that Galactic is not worth anywhere near $1 billion valuation because this company is hyped up by Reddit, has competition from Bezos and Blue Origin or Musk and SpaceX on the way, as well as the company is still in the testing phase with the technology and does not make any money at all. Others say, however, that Galactic is worth this $10 billion valuation and maybe worth even more because this is one of the few companies that have the ability and the now FAA clearance to send people to space, and they have potential for point-to-point high-speed travel. As always, ultimately, the decision is up to you to decide how much Galactic is worth. But let's talk about these reasons specifically, starting with Galactic being hyped up by Reddit and the fact that the company is still in the testing phase. And to talk about that, we are now in a website called Swaggy Stocks, which is a website that I use to track the number of mentions of stock tickers on Wall Street Bets. I'm actually working on my own version to put on my own website, but we do see here that Galactic is mentioned as one of the top 10 stock tickers mentioned on Reddit in the past day. However, look at the scale on the y-axis here. According to this website, in the past 24 hours, Virgin Galactic and the other stocks have only been mentioned about 20 times or less from a message board of over 10 million people. Of course, this web scraper website may not be the most accurate, but during times of the AMC and GME fiasco, the y-axis was in the scale of thousands. So even if the absolute number is incorrect here, the scale is telling me that the momentum for these stocks may be subsiding some compared to the momentum that we saw in the AMC and GameStop. And because Galactic is a momentum stock, there is definitely downside risk that I do see when the amount of mentions decreases to the levels that we are right now. So that addresses the Wall Street Bets angle of things. Now let's talk about competition. Another downside risk for the stock that I see is possible competition from companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin. So for me, yes, these companies and others of the sort could be competitors to Virgin Galactic, but to me, I do not think that they are direct competitors to Virgin Galactic. Blue Origin, to me, looks like their ambitions lie outside of Earth, with the purposes of collecting infinite resources from space. SpaceX looks like it wants to focus on building a satellite system, which, to me, it may be a mistake, but it also looks like they want to focus on colonizing Mars eventually, which is, again, outside of Earth. Virgin Galactic seems to be focused on Earth, and that is why I do not think that Blue Origin or SpaceX are really direct competitors, and this is actually a bull case for Virgin Galactic at the moment. To me, what's interesting about Galactic is not really the space flight travel. I could not care less about that, honestly. Sure, 3 minutes in space is cool, but to me what's cooler is getting from New York to London in 30 minutes. That, to me, is where the real story of Virgin Galactic is hiding. Point-to-point travel, which this is definitely a bull case for the company. Sure, this is great for rich billionaires who don't want to fly commercial, but let's think bigger. For instance, think about the possibilities of being able to carry cargo from one side of the world to another in 30 minutes. One thing that I can think about is, because I volunteered at a hospital for a few years during college, is organ transportation. When you're transporting organs, time outside the body is critical. With point-to-point transportation, this globalizes the organ supply chain, which could help save lives and could be pretty profitable. What other physical objects could point-to-point travel globalize? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, but that is just another reason that could be a bull case for Galactic. But of course, I'm not flying from New York to London until Galactic is done with their test flights. And that brings us to the fundamentals of Galactic's business, which we can look in Galactic's earnings report. So here we are in Virgin Galactic's earnings report, and first things first, Galactic is still in the test flight phase, meaning that they do not actually have any real paying customers using their service at the moment, meaning that there is no real money coming into the business. And we can see that here in the revenues line of the earnings report here, we don't have any money coming in for the quarter. We can see that we actually had to revenues last year about $238,000, but that's from people paying to reserve a seat once this company goes commercial and passes their test flights. This actually kind of worries me a little bit. This worries me because since this initial time point over here, we did not really gain any growth in the interest for paying customers. This could be an artifact from lack of advertising, or maybe there was a promotional sale or something going on last year that really drove up these numbers. But what this lack of revenue is telling me is that nobody is really putting any money into reserved seats. So again, maybe they're not running the same promotion or something, but that's just something to look into. Speaking of advertising and promotions here, moving on into the operating expenses, which is this block here on the earnings report, we can see that sales, general, and administrative expenses are nearly doubling year over year, while our research and development expenses over here is not really growing that much year over year at all. And you guys know me by now, I don't really like to see this. This company is on the edge of science, literally putting people into space. As a technology company, I want to see them pouring as much money as possible into research instead of spending money on advertising a product that they do not even have yet. This spending is obviously increasing our operating costs year over year, and we can see that in the increase of operating loss year over year, which I think is more important actually than the net loss here year over year. We can see that year over year, we are decreasing our net loss. However, that is an artifact from the change in fair value of the warrants here. Because this net loss is heavily influenced by the change in fair value of the warrants year over year, and because change in fair value of the warrants does not really tell me anything on how the company is performing, that is why I'm not paying too much to the net loss in this particular case. So all that said, after looking at these numbers here, is Galactic worth that $10 billion valuation? Again, up to you to decide, but we are still in the testing phase with the rockets here. Even though they have FAA clearance, they do not have any commercial aircrafts yet, and probably not for another year or two if we're lucky. There are definitely risks that the aircrafts may be delayed 1, 2, or maybe infinite years. And because we're not making any money at the moment, investors also need to pay attention to the cash burn here. You can do the math with either the operating loss or the net loss here, but any way you look at it, we have a finite amount of cash and cash equivalents. Right now, we have about $616 million in the bank. However, we are burning at a net loss of around $130 million per quarter. So you can do the math here to see how many quarters Virgin Galactic has left in the bank, and if they will have to do something like raise capital through secondary stock offerings, which will obviously dilute shareholders by increasing the amount of shares in circulation down here. Again, these are all downside bear cases for Virgin Galactic here, and that is something investors should be considering because the probabilities of those cases are not zero. With any momentum name, it is a risky gambit, but could pay off if the momentum remains. So with that said, now let's take a look at the trading charts to see if there's a level or two to buy Virgin Galactic if we want to buy Virgin Galactic. So here we are in Virgin Galactic stock charts here, and we can see that we have made a nice top here after the FAA news. Then we rebounded here after coming back down a little bit when Branson said that he was jumping on board for the spaceflight next Sunday. But we seem to have lost steam, and we actually ended the day near the lows of the session. Because of this, I think that the sentiment has kind of turned against the Virgin Galactic here, being unable to break this $58 to $60 resistance level, which we saw back in February. So what does that mean? Are we destined to head back down to the lows of the 30s? or maybe even mid-teens? Well, maybe. Again, this is a momentum game, so for me, when I'm playing momentum games, the best question to ask myself is, what is the next catalyst? What can increase the momentum in the stock? Obviously, the answer is Richard Branson's spaceflight next week, and that's true. It could have some positive momentum on the stock if it does go successfully, so we could see another push here towards the highs of the around $60 resistance level. However, the question is, well, what's after that? And to that question, I'm not sure, which is why I think that we actually could head back down to the low 40s down here and maybe even the mid 30 support level around the $35 level. However, any surprise news could generate a pop like we did when Branson announced his spaceflight. For me, I think the first place where I would be looking to add to my position in Virgin Galactic would be back down at around the $30 support level down here. Also looking at the MACD here, which is this chart here, we can see that the blue line is just about crossing our orange line here, which means that our short-term momentum is just becoming weaker than our long-term momentum that we're normally seeing. And that is a bearish sign for Virgin Galactic, indicating that the momentum may be subsiding for Virgin Galactic. Again, with a momentum name like this, it is always good to be a bit cautious.